you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub 2ers, this is William Tingle of sub2deals.com. I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Sub 2 Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. Sometimes we talk about some other real estate related stuff, but it is always applicable to your real estate investing business. I'm really excited today. We have another episode in our Real Investor series where we feature real investors sharing real stories and real deals. These guys are investors doing deals all across the country. They don't have any boot camps or courses to sell. These guys only have real tips and strategies to offer you. The things that are working today in their business and can work in yours too. So listen up. My guest today is Ronnie Mossotti. Ronnie is a real estate investor in Kentucky, in Lexington, Kentucky, actually. He's been investing for almost 2 years now, and it's been full-time for 1 year. 1 year in, and this guy is already doing remote deals, if you can believe that. So why don't I let him tell you just a little bit about his background. Ronnie, welcome to the Sub 2 Deals Show.
Thanks for having me, William. Happy to be here.
Well, we're certainly happy to have you. Now, you've got a really interesting background. Would you mind sharing that with everybody?
Sure. So I was born and raised here in Lexington, and did the college route. And after college, I was a police officer for 5 years, and always had wanted to be an investor. Had read Rich Dad Poor Dad and all those other books, and then decided to jump in full time after having some success in some other business, and now kind of rest is history. Doing a few deals a month and able to have a lot more time with the family, and really loving it.
You know, that's really what it's all about. You know, everybody's got to have their why. And mine was always my family. You know, I worked in the restaurant business, and I'm telling you, 70 hours a week, you know, you go to work, your kids are asleep, you get home, they're asleep. Yeah, that's just not a life.
Well, I absolutely agree. When I was a police officer, I worked a ton of overtime, and if you're able to work those, we called them details, extra details, where you're working security at grocery stores or bars or restaurants, you can make good money. The problem is it's all based on you. So there's only so many hours in the day that I could actually work to earn living for my family. And when my wife and I decided to want to start a family and have kids, we kind of made the decision that I had to do some other stuff to earn income. And now we're full time. My wife helps me out in my business, and it's been great. It's just been a very, very good blessing, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
I know you and I were talking about this just a little bit the other day about how it just, sometimes it seems like a dream, really. Once you've been full time for a little bit, you're starting to make some decent money. You're starting to do deals on a regular basis. It's almost like every day. It's like, pinch me. I can't believe it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And not having a boss and a dedicated, schedule or, corporate job, it's just amazing. And, being able to wake up and say, you know what, I don't really feel like, doing much today. Let's go to the zoo, or let's take a trip next week and do something like that. It's just the flexibility and the freedom, especially with the advances in technology, where you can, do anything from your phone that you need to, or whatever. It is. Some days it seems too good to be true.
Yeah. So you went to college, you got a job out of college and did what most people do. What really got you interested in real estate investing?
Well, like I said, I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, and I always kind of had this dream of passive income, and but I didn't know anything different. I was always told, well, you gotta go to a bank and get 20% down and find an agent that can find you a good deal on the MLS, and then maybe save up your money and buy one a year and for 10 years, and you'll have 10 properties when you retire, and you can work on them on the weekends. And that's kind of what I thought was the norm. And still to this day, it surprises me that most people, even real estate investors, think that is the norm. So then when I was, kind of introduced to the terms business and, other ways to source deals from wholesalers and off market strategies, I've never looked back.
I agree. I tell you that whole invest slow, pay cash, do all that stuff, man, that would be tough. I mean, you'd be trying to work, a slave job in addition to doing it. My thought has always been, I mean, your average life expectancy is what, 75. You work till you're 65 and you get 10 minutes. It's 10 years of retirement. It's not a very good trade, I don't think. One of the first things in the restaurant business, we hadn't had a vacation in years. And when I started investing, we were able to go on some vacation. We'd go on these cruises, and there'd be all of these older people carrying around their oxygen bottles and stuff. And I said, my goodness, you have to wait until you're that age to be able to enjoy anything you've accumulated.
Oh yeah, that is a kind of a constant conversation with my wife and I. It's just, we never wanted to work, quote unquote real jobs for, years and then, bank on a retirement or bank on a social security or anything like that. And just, create our own wealth and our own freedom. And when you're successful in real estate investing, that you are the author of your own book, and you can literally do what you want when you want. And it's just, there's nothing like it.
I agree with that. It certainly changed my life when I found real estate investing. Now, you said you've actually been investing for about 2 years. So I'm guessing you started sometime in the middle of probably 2017. And then last October, did you tell me you went full time?
Yes. So I started kind of studying it, really diving in, podcasts and some different coaching courses and stuff like that I took. But it took me probably 6 months to get my first deal. And like everybody says, the first deal is the hardest, which is absolutely true. Because after that, it seemed a lot easier. The kind of constant deal flow, and I think your confidence is up a lot. And I think you and I had a conversation offline. Once you start doing, consistent deals every month, you can start actually cherry picking them. So, deals I would have done a year ago just to have a deal, I wouldn't even do today. So it's just kind of a constant improvement as my business is built in getting better deals and deals that are geographically in areas that I want to be. And it's just a constant refining. And that's kind of what you and I were talking about, constantly educating yourself and talking to other people who are doing deals and learning different things. And that's what's helped me the most, is just, kind of constantly refining my processes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know when you first get started, especially getting the deed, you're a little bit, well, I don't know, maybe a lot uncertain that this is something that's really going to work. And then once it happens, it's like, oh, hey, this does work. And once you believe, it really makes a difference in how things happen.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I said early on and stuff, you're like, is this really real? Does this really work? And then you start seeing, the need on both sides, the need, for sellers that need to sell, and then the need for buyers who, can't get conventional financing. And it's really a kind of a happy big picture. You hear real estate agents and other people talk about how there's always this, bickering and fighting amongst, buyers and sellers. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I just don't have those problems. I have people that are super happy to do business with me on the sell side, and then these buyers that are so happy for the opportunity to achieve home ownership. And just the little nitpicking about a mark on the wall and stuff that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're in a unique situation there where you can actually help everyone involved and make a tremendous amount of money.
Exactly, and that's why I was a police officer. I really wanted to help people, and I really, have kind of a serving mentality. But when you can do it and make a little bit of money at the same time, it's great. It's just, again, it's one of those things that is almost kind of too good to be true.
It is. Well, you've told me a little bit about what you do, and I know you're even only 2 years in, you're constantly refining what's going on. But so tell us a little bit about your business model. Now, I know that, like I said, you're adjusting somewhat right now to do things differently, but over the course of your investing, you've used several techniques and done several things, haven't you?
Yeah. So, like I had told offline, we had when I started, I was kind of buying more houses on either on sub two or on seller financing, and then depending on the property, I would kind of refine the exit strategy. So I would either do sell it on a lease option or hold it as a rental. But kind of as I've matured a little bit in my business, I'm kind of only buying certain houses in certain price ranges now, and I'm beginning to do all of them on seller financing, selling them all on seller financing, and buying them all sub two. So that's kind of what's worked the best for me. Not to say that I hadn't had some really great deals with some other strategies, but this is kind of the niche. I know the market well enough now to know, the best sellers to target, and then the best buyers, kind of that are the most qualified, and what the buyers want these days. And your markets that you work are, I think, are similar demographics to mine, and population sizes and incomes. So I think you just really have to kind of figure out what works best in your market and kind of go there. What works in California is not going to work in Lexington, or even in Florida. It's just, you have to kind of really know what your buyers want, and then kind of the pain points of your sellers and what price range those folks are in.
Right. It's, we talk a lot about motivated sellers and understanding motivation and what you're looking for. But when you're buying real estate, it is just as important, in my opinion, to know your buyer, what your buyer's looking for, your typical buyer's age, number of children, what size house they're looking for, what neighborhoods, all of those things. That lets you buy the correct houses to move them quickly. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree. That one of these things that can really put you upside down fast in this business is to buy the wrong property, and either pay too much for it, or buy a property that is hard to sell. And you could be in a case where you have negative cash flow every month just to hold it. So you really want to make sure, like you said, you're buying the property that you can sell, and there's a big demand for. And I think now doing these, we're over 20 at the moment, and we've really honed in on what exactly is going to move fast, and what's not. I can look at it, even on the internet really quick, and say, oh yeah, we can sell that in a week or two.
Yeah. So you're holding over 20 properties now and you're full time. So what's your goal? I mean, as far as purchasing per month.
We're still on the kind of the goal of two a month right now. Like I said, it's me and my wife that do it, and she does all the back end work on it, paperwork and stuff like that I'm not real organized on, and I go out and kind of do the deals and do the closings. But I think we're probably looking to get to about that 50 mark, and then kind of shift the business model a little bit to maybe just buy one a month and then sell one a month, and maybe take a little bit of time off to spend some time vacationing, and doing some of the stuff that we've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah. I know you've given this some thought, Ronnie. Your model is moving to something very close to what I do. And, I talk about this all the time. that you can, average somewhere between $400 or $500 a month if you structure these things properly. And I know you've done the math on what 50 houses will bring in per month in cash flow.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, a deal that I had ran by you a couple weeks ago that I just closed on, the cash flow I think came out to like $409 a month, and I was like, wow, that's one of my highest cash flowing properties I have. And it was just kind of the simple advice of chatting with you. But if you set that number of what you want to cash flow per month per deal, yeah, it doesn't take a lot to have a good lifestyle. That's for sure.
That's right.
But and you're not even counting your initial down payments and your cash outs, which if the deal is structured and purchased right, those are both going to be pretty hefty as well.
That's exactly right. So your model now pretty much is to buy subject to, sell with owner financing, collect a down payment, monthly cash flow, and then a back end payday.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's my exact same one too. But you've done just like I mentioned in the opening here. You've also done a multi-unit remote deal in your 1 year of full-time investing.
I did. I had a kind of a friend of a friend approach me and said that they knew a lady who lived about 2.5 hours north of me in Ohio that was in the note buying business, and she had to take some properties back from somebody that defaulted, and asked if I had any interest. So I was able to speak with her and structure a deal. One of them, the properties was in pretty bad shape, so I was able to negotiate her to pay for the rehabs of the properties. And it's in an area where there's kind of that Midwestern Ohio area where the cash flow is really good for lower priced properties, and it just worked awesome. And I hired a professional property management company, and I've got those are still cash flowing to today. So it was just kind of one of those things we talk about is if a deal comes your way, that's really good. Sometimes you can pivot and make sure the deal, happens. It's worked out thus far.
Yeah. Well, for being, so did you actually drive up and take a look at this place, or
I did. I drove up one time and it was actually in the pouring rain. And then I just, kind of analyzed the numbers and went home and ran some spreadsheets on it. And then I just called a property management company in the area that, was highly rated, and had them go and look at them and give me their assessment as well. And theirs kind of matched mine. And, with the availability of the internet and, reviews and what other investors are saying, remotely investing is easy.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty impressive. A new investor already doing remote stuff. So congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that.
You plan on doing some more of that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, on the list is to buy a few sub-2 deals down in Florida. My wife and I really like that and want to have a vacation home down there. So we're would like to get a few properties down there as well, and stay in one of them part of the year, and then have the other ones there as well. So that's on the list in the next year. It's one of our goals that we've been talking about.
Okay, great. Listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Ronnie's going to talk to us about his best sources for leads and his favorite tools that help him in the business. So if you want to find out where Ronnie's getting his leads to buy a couple, 3 houses a month, come back and listen up.
The Sub2 Deals Show with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle. We'll be right back. Hey Sub2ers, do you want to learn how to get the deed but need a little help getting started? Want to learn how to fill out the paperwork, how to use a land trust, how to market for deals, how to negotiate with sellers, and more? Join us in the Sub2 Deals Facebook coaching group. Get the benefits of one-on-one coaching without the big price tag. Learn to do Sub2 right with coaching in a group setting and mastermind format. Head over to sub2deals.com right now and click on consulting and group coaching. We'll save you a seat. Back to the show.
Hey,
The
Sub-Tours, we're back
your
with
host,
Ronnie
Sub-2 expert
Mossotti.
William Tingle.
He's talking about his business model and how he buys a couple of Sub-2s, sells with owner financing every month. Ronnie's been a full-time investor for just a year, and he's already buying remote properties. So you want to listen to this. So Ronnie, welcome back. We left off. We were talking about your business model, and you said your thing now that you're really moving into is buying Sub-2, selling with owner financing, and how's that working out for you?
It's working out really well. Like I said, we've kind of refined it to we know exactly which properties we want to buy now, and we're able to pass on them and kind of cherry pick the best deals because I'm not at a point now where I have to have the deal. It's if the deal is good and makes sense, I'll take it. And if it doesn't, I can just pass on it.
Well, if you don't mind sharing with us, in your mind, if you had a seller call you today and they had what you consider to be the perfect deal for you to pick up in your market, describe that for us. What kind of deal would that be?
That would be a single family home that would be priced anywhere from probably about $130,000 to $250,000, and it would be in a great neighborhood where a lot of young families want to live, convenient to interstates, shopping and malls, with very little to minimal repairs. I think that the most we've ever done on a house is kind of a thorough carpet cleaning and some touch-up paint, but no rehabs. And the perfect scenario for us is when somebody is moving out of state for like a job transfer and they have very little equity. I mean, let's face it, these folks that are preparing to make a move across the country, which is very costly, they can't afford, an average income person just can't afford to bring a check to closing for, sometimes $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to cover agent fees and commissions, closing costs. So it's just a perfect scenario for us. And we've done several of those deals. Those are my favorite. The sellers are ecstatic at closing. I had a guy a couple months ago and he was almost in tears. He said he just hadn't been able to sleep. He was getting transferred for a job. And it's like, you feel really good about helping those people. And then as we talked about earlier, on the flip side, those are the easiest ones to sell, that kind of median priced home in the market where there's a lot of young families that are looking.
Right. And your exit on that, have you already sold that property that you just talked about?
Well, I have, yeah. That was one of those that only lasted about a week. And it was kind of like you and I have talked about. It was a younger family. They had some hiccups from, I think, some student loans. And they're just ecstatic. I think it was a new family, a husband and wife that had gotten married, that had kids from other marriages. So they had some divorces and, good people, both have great jobs. They just need a little bit of credit repair, and they're happy for the opportunity. And that's what I like the most is giving people an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't exist.
Right. So what would you say are your best sources for leads right now?
Right now would be definitely the expired listings. So if there's folks listening that haven't really hit those, basically those have been on the market with a real estate agent and for whatever reason didn't sell. And we use a service right now that we get them emailed to us daily and they're already skip traced. So I can kind of go through the list and cherry pick them, the ones that I are in the price range I want in the areas I want, and I just pick up the phone and call them. Those have worked out really well, as well as the wholesaler leads, and those are just the guys that are in your market, putting out the we buy houses for cash signs, and those guys are really looking for houses that have a lot of equity and generally need repairs. So when somebody calls those guys that say, hey, I have a house that I purchased for $200,000 a year ago, and I got divorced or something happened where they can't pay for it, they don't have a lot of equity. Most of those wholesalers are just throwing those out. So I've been able to sit down with those guys and kind of tell them what I'm looking for. And if I close on a deal, I give those guys a referral fee. So it works out great.
So how much is that usually costing you for a referral fee for wholesalers?
The deal I have with the guys that give me the most leads is if I can close on it and it's a house that's right in my price range, I usually give them $2,000 flat. Now, if in a case where I had a few weeks ago, a seller was a sweet older lady. She, same problem, had expired, didn't have a lot of equity. She was getting ready to move into a smaller apartment that was less upkeep for her. I gave her some money to help her move. So I was able to negotiate with the wholesalers like, hey, would you guys take half on this deal? Because I've got to give her some money out of pocket to help her move. And they were happy with it. Again, it's found money to them. If these guys are spending, 10 grand a month in direct mail, and I'm able to close 2 deals a month from them, they just saved themselves $4,000 in marketing, because otherwise that lead sheet that they would have gotten would have been in the trash can.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you said you pay $2,000 for really them just passing a lead along to you. They don't, I mean, they may have called them or did a ringless voicemail or something, but that's it. They give it to you and they get $2,000. I mean, that's simple. That's easy money right there.
Yeah, for any deal I close on, and it works out great because obviously I'm gonna, make good money on the transaction, and it keeps me. I kind of look at it as a commission acquisitions manager. It's somebody that already understands real estate, understands what I'm looking for. However, I'm not managing the person. I'm not saying I need you, to be in the office at this time to this time. It's kind of it's like having an employee without all the headaches, I guess.
Right. So dealing with wholesalers, getting leads from them, and then actually picking up the phone and calling expires. Wow, picking up the phone, huh? What a concept.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, and a lot of people are afraid to, and really it's people overcomplicate it, William. It's just you just pick up the phone and just simply are calling saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what we do. If we can help you out, great. If not, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And I always tell people, I try to give them advice if they ask for it, whether I can do the deal or not, because I believe that good karma comes around. So if somebody says, listen, I need all this equity out, I have to pay off this or that bill, I always tell them, you may just find a different agent, or, we're definitely not going to be a fit for you. But if we are, I kind of tell them, how we've been able to help other people in their position. And, if it's a fit, it's a fit. And if not, best of luck to you. But it's definitely not rocket science. It's just talking to people. They're not going to come through the phone at you. Most of the people that are actually motivated welcome the calls. I talked to you about a deal that I had done a couple months ago, where I kind of pivoted on an exit strategy based on size of a down payment I was receiving, and that the seller on that deal, she was like, I wish I would have known about you, 6 months ago. My house has been, expired with an agent on and off, and she was just ecstatic. And that's the thing, is there's so many people out there that need what we do, and the only way that they're going to know about us is we actually get in touch with them.
Right. Now, you shared something with me a couple of days ago that you're starting to do, and I hope you're willing to share it on this. I hadn't heard of it before, and it sounded like a great idea, something that you're doing as a follow-up for people who either aren't comfortable doing, what you suggest, or working with you at this point, just sort of as a follow-up to maybe, leave a good impression with them, and maybe you can get a deal with them later. Do you mind sharing that today?
Sure. So I'll give you what exactly we do. So when I'm done talking to a seller on the phone, if I just hung up with you, I immediately ask if I said, hey, William, hey, even though this may not be a good fit for us, just so you have my contact information so you don't misplace it, do you mind giving me your email address? I've never had somebody that said no.
Right.
So I get their email address, and then I send them an immediate email with obviously all my contact information, a link to my website, and a link to the Better Business Bureau, so they can see, I am legit, and I do what I say I'm going to do. We have an A+ rating, and I'm very proud of that. And then the next follow up is my wife sends a handwritten card. She's got way better handwriting than me. That just basically says, thank you for your time today. If your circumstances change or there's anything I can ever do for you in the future, please feel free to reach out. And there's my business card in there. And it's just that simple.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I closed on a deal for doing that exact same thing. Probably, I think it was in early June. And it was a guy that I had talked to. He was a FISBO. I was not really interested. Then he got an agent. Expired with the agent and or was going to expire, and reached out and said, hey, if I end up expiring, is this still going to be an option? I said, when the listing expires, if it doesn't sell, give me a call. And that guy's life circumstances had changed, and if I hadn't done the follow-up with him and he didn't have my contact information, he would have never known who I was, because these guys or these sellers get hit up from so many realtors or other investors or wholesalers. You've got to do something to set yourself aside from those people so they remember you. And I think handwritten cards goes a very long way these days.
Oh yeah, because nobody does it anymore. I mean, in our age of emails and ringless voicemails, that's what we do.
Exactly. So I just, like I said, I try to be a resource for people. Maybe they'll pass my information along to a friend. I always try to tell people, if you give my information to a friend, I'm able to buy their house, I'll give you $500. That gets people thinking.
Yeah. And that's that what you said about being a resource, that is really the biggest thing. I try to really drive that home with investors, that if you can't work with somebody today, leave them with a positive experience. Listen, if things don't work out, here's my card. Can I be your plan B? I don't mind being a resource for you. If I can help you in any way, give me a call. Because so many people are just churn and burn. If they can't work with you, then, oh, well, I'm done with them then. They're no good to me. I'm on to the next thing. You can't be that way, because follow-up is there's a lot of money in follow-up.
I couldn't agree more. And I think as investors that we have to sometimes stop and put ourselves in these folks' perspectives. For us, and we buy, 2 to 3 houses a month, it's just another house. But for a lot of these people, they may have only buy 1 to 3 houses in their entire lifetime. So it's a big deal for them. And we have to kind of stop and put ourselves in their shoes and remember that, hey, this is a very, very big transaction, probably the biggest one of their life. And they're emotionally attached to it. And a lot of the lingo and jargon that we talk about amongst ourselves, we can't talk about it in front of them, because it is a complicated transaction. And when people start feeling that they don't understand something or it's complicated, they immediately lose interest. It's just, we can't overcomplicate it. We've got to simplify it and do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah, that's
that
exactly
simple.
right. You've got to keep it simple. You've got to explain it in the simplest terms possible. You mentioned the Better Business Bureau. Do you recommend that for a membership in that for real estate investors? Have you seen that make a difference with your sellers or buyers?
I personally think it does. I think that, like you said, there's so many churn and burn and fly-by-nighters out there, and because all the late night TV shows and weekend seminars, people, I think, sometimes paint real estate investors in a negative light. And I think that just adds a layer of legitimacy to your business. They know it is a real business. That's what I tell people. I said, we're a small family owned business, but we are local. We are registered with the Better Business Bureau. We have an A+ rating. And yeah, I think it's important for people to see that you are held accountable to an organization. You're also held accountable to your past sellers. So that's another thing I do. I say, listen, if you want to talk to somebody that's entered into a transaction like this, that's been in your shoes, I'm happy to provide you. And I've gotten so many referrals from past sellers. I've bought 2 houses from one person.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
I think that's really important. Like I said, it's not rocket science in this business, but doing what you say you're going to do and doing right by people pays dividends.
Right. So for you, just cold calling and wholesalers are generating most of your leads in your business.
Yeah, we're starting to try a little bit of online marketing, a little bit of Facebook, but we're in the infancy stages of that right now. But yeah, the main ones are just a lot of cold calling. I mean, I'm cold calling people every day, and whether it's FSBOs or expireds, and like I said, I'm just planting that seed. Hey, if it doesn't sell, what's your plan? And then just following up with them. And
Yeah.
you really don't have to talk to that many people to get a deal. I think people would probably be shocked if they just picked up the phone and called maybe 10 people for a week. They'll definitely get some leads, but they'll probably likely get a deal from it as well.
Yeah, I agree. What about tools that you use in your business? Tools for skip tracing or, generating lead lists or anything like that. Is there anything that you feel like is particularly valuable in your business?
I think the service that we use to get the expired leads, like I said, I believe it's like $50 a month, and that sends to our inbox every day, and they're already skip traced, so I don't have to like send them over to a skip tracer and do all that. It's just I just pick up the phone and call them right there. And then we use a CRM that's pretty cheap. I think it's only about $20 a month, and that
Who
kind of keep.
who's that lead provider, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, it's called myplusleads.com. And I think they give you a certain radius, maybe like 50 miles. So like I said, I just log in the mornings, and then I can kind of cherry pick the ones. And
Right.
generally the numbers are correct, and they have an email address. So if I can get a hold of my phone, I'll just drop an email and say, hey, interested in making an offer on your house, please call me back. And the motivated ones definitely will.
The My Plus Leads, what does that run you a month?
I believe it's $50 a month.
Okay.
It shouldn't be much more than that, but we've used that for several months, and I've been very happy with it.
Oh yeah.
And I know a lot of on your forums and stuff, a lot of people are kind of asking about that, and trying to make contact with an agent to get their expired, and then I guess you got to skip trace them after that to get their phone numbers. But you can mail them. We mailed those people for a while. It's not quick enough. You've got to get them the day or two after they've expired, because if they're motivated, they're trying to find a way out right then and there.
Yeah, I used to really like mailing, but I've turned more to the phone now. It just really cuts to the chase. I mean, within a few minutes, and instead of sending a card and waiting, a week or whatever for somebody to call you, right.
Yeah,
So,
and especially if that person's already moved, if they got a job transfer or something has changed in their life and they've moved and the house has been sitting vacant, generally you can tell by the pictures online if it was vacant when the real estate agent took it. But sending mail to a vacant house is not going to get you anywhere. You got to get on the phone, and I promise you, if that person has a house that they've left in Lexington, Kentucky, and they've moved to Georgia for work, and they're making 2 house payments, they will definitely listen to what you have to say.
that's absolutely right.
I mean,
Those are
it's
lead sources.
I've had people in that in that situation, and it's like it's like a knight in shining armor for those people. That most average people cannot make 2 house payments, not
Yeah,
sustainably at least.
that's right. So once you get a lead on a deal, what are the criteria that you look at when you evaluate? Okay, is this going to be a good deal for me? Does it have these key points? What do you look at to decide? Okay, this is something I want to pursue, or I'm just going to pass on it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I definitely look at, first of all, the value of the house, how much equity is in the house. Obviously, I've got to be able to mark that up so I can have some money on the back end, and can't overinflate the price. So usually that 94% equity, 95 is a really, really good starting point for me. The loan interest rate, if it's just anything over 5% these days is tough, especially depending on the price of the house. Some people are willing to pay a little bit more on the monthly, but a lot of these people that we work with, it's kind of all about the monthly payment. That's kind of where their mind is set at. They don't think they can become a homeowner, so they're kind of used to being a renter, or looking to take that jump. And like you kind of taught me, you always let them know, hey, once we get you refinancing your own loan, your payment is going to go down. So you just have to make sure that you're comfortable with this payment. Their debt to income ratio is going to support it, so they can handle the maintenance and repairs. But back to your original question, the loan, the interest rate cannot be too high. Definitely no repairs. We don't do any rehabs. And I tell people, listen, if your house has got a hole in the roof, and you've got no air conditioning and stuff, I can refer you to somebody that'll pay you cash, or try to help you out. But it's just not for me. It's one of those things. I know there's money to be made in some of that stuff. It's just I'm really focused on what we do, because we do it really well, and refer that other stuff to other people that's their niche, because it's just a distraction to us.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. I'm looking for a really nice house. Doesn't have to have a tremendous amount of equity. I like to get 90% LTV or better, and then a really good interest rate on that loan. That's where the money's made right there.
I agree. We're aligned on that, and that, I think, just comes from experience. Like I said, deals that I would have made a year ago, I wouldn't make today, and not because they're bad deals. It's just I'm able to find better deals, and I just know what the market bears. And if somebody is, I get in contact and they're willing to sign the paperwork, and close this week, I'm comfortable doing that in the price range houses I'm buying, because I know that I'm not going to have a vacant house for 2 months I'm making payments on. I know that I can get somebody in there, and close within a few weeks.
Right.
So it just makes the whole business flow easier. We actually have a pretty big buyers pool at any given time from other houses, and a lot of times, I think the last 2 houses we've sold are from people who had been on our list, that for whatever reason a house that we had didn't work out for them, and they just kept following up with us. Hey, I'm still interested. Do you have anything? And generally, most of our houses sell kind of off market. They don't even make it on the internet. It's we send a blast out to our people,
Yeah.
and they're gone. So like you said before, you have that kind of niche house that that everybody wants, and you're able to buy it correctly, you're not going to have any problem moving it.
That's right. And that buyer's list is important, because after a while in your community, when you work locally, you become known as the house guy. He's got nice houses. They're affordable. It's easy to qualify for them. And you've got people calling you up. Do you have anything? This is what I need. So, yeah.
Yeah, we get that every day. And especially if you're, a reputable company, because there's not very many people that do what we do. If these people have been turned down by a bank, they don't have a whole lot of options, or at least, I think some people try to do it, here and there, but not people that are actually doing it as a business. So they
Right.
turn to you, and, like I said, our best buyers have been people that have, just maintained contact with us, and, constantly updated their information. This is where we're at. this is what we're looking for. Please, please, please let us know if something comes available. And like I said, generally reach out and they're seeing the house, within a couple days.
Right. That's great. Ronnie, give us an example of a deal that you're working on right now. Just tell us, what you got going on.
I am working on a deal from a lead just recently got, and I believe it was a lead that my wife generated via Facebook Marketplace. One of the things that we've been chatting about in your private forums are some of these, buy, sell, trade groups and that kind of stuff, posting, hey, looking for a house to buy, not looking, for a real estate agent, looking to buy some houses in the area. If you know anybody selling, please tell them to contact us. And you'd be amazed that people are tagging their friends and stuff. So I've been working with a lady, and she is relocating for a job in Florida, and she's having trouble selling her house. She was a FSBO, and I think she's getting ready to expire with an agent. And I told her, once she expires, to give me a call. But her situation is like most. She's for whatever reason, the market is slowing a little bit with kids going to school and people not wanting to move after the summer. And she's got to be at a job in a month. And she's saying, A, I can't make 2 house payments. And B, I don't want to split up my family. I want my husband to be here with me. And so, I was kind of talking through it with her, and I'm like, what's going to happen if the house doesn't sell? And she's like, well, he's going to have to stay behind. And I don't want that. I'm going to be in a new city by myself. And so that's something I'm working for right now. We're kind of working on the numbers to try to see if we can make sense on both sides. But again, that's a lead with kind of my favorite motivation and my kind of my niche of helping people that have nice move-in ready homes with not a lot of equity that are moving. They don't have a lot of resources. And
Right.
that particular house, in my opinion, is not selling because it's overpriced to cover agents' fees and commissions, because she just does not have a lot of equity.
Right. Yeah. You have another one that you're working on right now that maybe you've got under contract that you could tell us about, how you found it and what the numbers are working out like?
Well, I have one that I've closed on it, and I'm waiting for the our tenant buyer or buyers to close on it, and they've already given a sizable earnest money deposit to our attorney. So I know that everything will happen correctly. But at this point, that was another lead from a wholesaler, very little equity. This lady had actually expired with a real estate agent, and she reached out to one of the wholesalers in the area and, kind of asked for a cash offer. And based on the equity, they told her that wasn't, possible unless she had a very big check to come to closing. So they reached out to me, and I was able to work with her. We have closed on it already. I did buy that house. Like I said, I'm working, waiting to close with our tenant buyers, but it was a 4-bedroom house in a great neighborhood that a lot of people want to be in. And unfortunately, due to a divorce, this lady is not able to comfortably live there anymore. So payments were current, everything like that, but she just knew that it was stretching her a little bit too much. So
Right.
That was the same lady that was just like, I wish I had known. I wish I had known about you guys a year ago. It's just been very stressful on us. So, super, super excited to help that lady out.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing some of the numbers on that?
Sure. So I
What-
bought that house for right around 270, and I resold it for 295. Now, the caveat on that house is this is, I think, one you'll probably remember. I called you and asked your opinion on this. I was kind of explaining to the people that were looking for it. It was a young Hispanic family that was there. I think they're in the construction business. And they had
Mhm.
said, they're like, well, how does the program work? And I was telling them, our goal is to get you, refinancing in the next, 3 years or so. We'll help you at ever. So the young lady that's with them is kind of communicating with her parents, and she's like, well, my dad says he has no interest in working with a bank. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of how our program works. And, that's kind of our goal. And she's like, well, if he could come to the table with a sizable down payment, would you consider selling it over 7 years and us never refinancing you out? And I was like, well, that would be a very, very high monthly payment. And so we talked a little bit further, and they actually are coming to the table with $50,000 down, and it'll cash flow a little bit more than $1,000 a month for me.
Right. I know you had to do some creative things on the back end of that because of your spread with a $50,000 down payment. I mean, I know we finally got that worked out, but that was a little bit unusual.
That was like kind of on the spot. When she said that number, I had, an amortization calculator on my phone, and I'm like, well, because they threw out the number. I said, well, how long would it take you to pay off the whole house, assuming, at an interest rate that was agreeable to both of us. And they threw out the number of 7 years. So I pulled out my amortization calculator and I showed it to them, and they're like, yeah, that payment's, definitely doable. And so then I called you, and we were able to kind of work through it on, using a portion of the down to balance the loans out. And yeah, that house is actually scheduled to close with them in 2 weeks. But it was definitely one that we, it was a kind of a pivot move on the spot, because that wasn't my traditional exit strategy. But I wanted to obviously accommodate those folks because they had the money, and they really wanted the house, and it was just, it's turned out going to be a great deal for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if you take the entire down payment and use that to, to balance things, I mean, you're still looking at $1,000 a month for 7 years.
Yeah, and then the not to mention the principal pay down, and then I marked the house up $20,000, and it'll turn out to be a great deal for me.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things that you talked about with me. Just sometimes, you have to deviate slightly from your kind of planned business model if the numbers speak for it. So,
Well,
I was happy to do that.
It's creative real estate. Sometimes you have to be creative.
That's right. Hey, and if you don't know, ask somebody that does. I that's kind of threw me for a loop. That's when I sent you a text and was like, "Do you mind, chatting me through this deal real quick?"
Yeah, who wants to turn down a $50,000 down payment? Nobody.
Yeah, you're right.
We want to find a way to get that. So
they're out there. They, people say that those people don't exist, but they're, small business owners and folks like that. You just never know.
yeah. So 2 years in, Ronnie, 1 year full time. That's that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Most people look at real estate for a long time before they really get started. So I'm really interested. How did you learn to do what you do?
I took a couple different coaching courses, and kind of cherry picked what I liked and didn't like from both of those. But really, it sounds strange, but just kind of diving in and learning some as I go. Tons of podcasts. I changed my routine from, if I was walking the dog or working out or something, instead of listening to music, I listen to podcasts. And really, if you take bits and pieces of all the best ones, you can kind of learn. But then I really started to refine it when I was getting in the sub 2 forums, and then in your coaching group, because the difference is you're actually talking to people that are doing deals and not just trying to sell you on something. A lot of these courses and stuff, they just want to sell you, oh, you have to come to this seminar to get this information or get this piece of the puzzle. And in your forums, I literally will post a question, and likely somebody has already done that or has advice, and and that's the best, is if I can offer value to people as well on something that I may be good at, but I'm not so good at, like the Facebook marketing we're trying to learn right now. It's a win-win for everybody. And, your community that you have has just been a really, really big blessing for us the last few months.
Well, man, I appreciate that. I know we work hard to try to really provide value to the members of both the Sub 2 forum and the coaching group, and we've really been just really blessed to have a lot of active investors who have a really generous spirit in both of those groups.
Yeah, I almost, I told you before, it's almost kind of like a mastermind group that
Right.
you're not paying $10,000 for, and there's actually deal makers in there, and everybody's just happy to give each other advice. I love looking at it every day.
Yeah, I do too. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good group. Looking back over your lengthy 2 years in real estate investing, I think it's great. Uh, if you were talking to a new investor, and there are many new investors listening to this right now, if you could give them any advice on getting started, what would you say to them?
I would say to definitely link up with somebody who's doing deals and doing them correctly, morally and ethically right. I know we've talked about that before. There's some folks out there that teach some stuff that is not necessarily above board, but offering some type of value. If it's somebody in your market or somebody locally, asking, hey, this is kind of what I'm interested in doing, and seeing how they can help, and kind of, as Rich Dad Poor Dad books say, offer something to them on how you can help them, and then obviously in exchange for some of your knowledge. If I had a newbie coming to me and saying, hey, do you think I could call some of your dead leads, or some of your leads that you couldn't work with, and if I'm able to get them interested again, is there anything we can do or I can learn from you? I would welcome that, and I think that's what a successful newbie would do. And then you'll know pretty quick if that person is committed. And I think it's just kind of taking the plunge and just taking action. That's the biggest thing. Getting on the phones, talking to people. Even if you're uncomfortable on the phone, just talking to people in your inner circle. If you're at a job, hey, if you ever know anybody that needs to sell a house, tell them to get in contact. Hand out some business cards. Get them one Vistaprint for $20, and
Yeah.
try to just network with people, and eventually you're going to find somebody, and then get an experienced investor to walk you through the deal, and compensate them however for their time, and just build from there. It just takes kind of one deal to build your confidence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just making you aware that it's actually possible, because, as long as you doubt it, then, it's slow happening. But once you believe, it seems like they just jump out of nowhere at you,
Yeah, and to add to that, kind of the best advice that I've ever been given in business or real estate is talk to people that are actually doing it. Your uncle who's never bought a real estate investment, and has been a plumber his entire life. If he tells you at Thanksgiving that it's not going to work and it's a scam or something like that, just take it for what it is. Just talk to people who are actually doing deals, and the naysayers out there are going to be always around. Surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed and are happy when they see you succeed, not people that want to see you fail because they have some preconceived notion that real estate investing is a scam.
Yep, I agree. Surround yourself with like-minded people that want to be successful. It's good advice.
Absolutely.
Good advice. Well, Ronnie, I tell you, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and sharing your story and how you buy houses and how you've gone full-time actually after just 1 year of investing, you went full-time. That's a great story, very motivational. I'm sure everybody appreciates it. And we're just glad to have you. Thanks so much.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to being a part of your community for years to come.
Yep. Okay. All right, guys, that's it. Ronnie Mossotti, if you have any questions for him, I'm sure you can tag him in the Sub 2 Deals forum. He's there quite a bit, and sharing his experiences and his deals. And also our Sub 2 Deals coaching group that Ronnie mentioned. If you're out there, you're struggling, you're trying to learn, we teach people in that group every day. We're a relatively small group. I think that's really what we're going to do, is keep it that way. I think we're going to limit the size of that group to keep it engaged and keep people sharing information. Really like the vibe that we've got in there. So if that interests you, you can reach out to us about that. And as always, you can contact me at william@sub2deals.com if you have any questions. I answer questions every day in the forums and by email. So thanks for listening, and get out there and buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub 2 Deals Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com and on Facebook at Sub 2 Deals. We'll catch you next time.